Hey guys, this is Stacy from EatTheBite.com, and today we'll be making Southern Living's insanely delicious Buttermilk Biscuits. I've always struggled with biscuit making, but when I found this recipe at Southern Living's website and made it, I was blown away. So we're going to do biscuits two ways: the original Southern Living Buttermilk Biscuit and a second version with jalapeno and cheddar. Let's get started. This recipe is so easy. All you need is 1 stick of frozen butter, 2.5 cups of White Lily self-rising flour. It has to be White Lily self-rising flour. If you don't live in the South like me, you can order this online at Walmart. They have a good deal there. 1 cup of chilled buttermilk, and that's it. This is all you need, plus a little bit of parchment paper for baking and 2 tablespoons of butter to brush on your cooked biscuits. Okay, here we go. There it is. The glorious White Lily self-rising flour. White Lily flour, guys. Write it down. So we'll take 2.5 cups of flour and put it in a bowl. Then we'll take our 1 stick of frozen butter and shred it on a box grater. Be careful not to scrape your fingers as you get down to the end of the stick. It can get a little tricky. Then we'll empty all that delicious butter that got stuck inside the grater. We'll add the shredded butter to the flour and gently mix it together. The key to a great biscuit is having the ingredients be as cold as possible. So after we mix the butter into the flour, we'll put that bowl in the freezer for 10 minutes. And even though Southern Living's website didn't say to put the buttermilk in the freezer, I did that anyway to make it as cold as possible. And by the end of combining your flour and butter together, you will have
flour fingers.
After we take the flour and butter out of the freezer, we're going to make a well in the center of the flour and add that very cold buttermilk to it. Now, according to Southern Living's website, they mix the dough exactly 15 times. 15 times, guys. Not 16. And certainly not 14. 15 times exactly. So that's what I did. After I mixed my dough, I floured the surface of my cutting board and gave it a gentle wipe to spread it out just a bit. Then I lightly floured my rolling pin. Next, I turned the dough out onto the board and started to roll out the dough into a rectangle as seen here. And you can lightly flour the top of your dough as needed throughout this next process. The Southern Living recipe said to roll it into a rectangle, fold it, and roll it again 5 times. So after 5 times, you can start to cut your biscuits. And try to handle the dough as little as possible with your hands, because heat from your hands can melt that butter, and we need to keep it cold. So I did my final roll, and I'm ready to cut my biscuits. And Southern Living recommended flouring your cutter in between each cut, which I forgot to do, but it didn't seem to make a difference. And you do want to press down on the biscuit cutter, and don't twist or turn the cutter as you do this. Just press it straight down and transfer the biscuits to your parchment paper lined sheet pan. You want the biscuits lined up and touching each other to get a better rise once in the oven. And I am using a slightly larger biscuit cutter, so I'm hoping to get 8 biscuits or so as my final count. And once you've cut that first batch of biscuits, you just want to take those scraps and roll it again so you can get as many biscuits as possible. Then you want to put your biscuits into a preheated oven at 475 degrees and cook them for 15 minutes until they're golden brown. And then you will have glorious biscuits that look like this. I love brushing on the butter when they come out of the oven, and I'm getting really excited to eat the bite. I broke open one of the smaller biscuits while it was still hot, and of course you've got to add a little butter on there before you take a bite. And oh my goodness, is there anything more satisfying than eating a hot buttery biscuit right out of the oven? I think not. It's everything you need it to be. Crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside. Okay, let's keep going and make the jalapeno and cheddar version now. I took the Southern Living Buttermilk Biscuit recipe and kicked it up a notch by adding jalapeno and cheddar to it. Having no idea how many jalapenos I should add, I bought 8 of them. And I'll tell you right now, it was too many. I'll elaborate on that in a minute. I put them on the sheet pan with olive oil, and then I roasted them in the oven at 475 for 20 to 25 minutes. And as you can see, they're nice and charred as they should be. And after they were finished cooking, I put them in a sealed container so I could steam them for a while so it would be easier to take the skins off. I did put gloves on for this because I wasn't sure how spicy the jalapenos would be. And spoiler alert, they were very spicy. So if you like really spicy food, use all of them in your biscuits. But if you want a milder flavor, just use 1 to 3. I had sharp cheddar cheese on hand, so I shredded about 1.5 cups for my biscuits, put it in a bowl, and set it aside. Now it's the same drill as the first recipe. 2.5 cups of white lily self-rising flour, shred 1 stick of frozen butter, gently mix the flour and butter together, then put the bowl in the freezer for 10 minutes. I also put my buttermilk, cheese, and jalapenos in the freezer separately for 10 minutes, so everything would be super cold. Now it's time to mix our dough. I'll add my shredded cheddar, my jalapeno, again add much less jalapeno for a milder flavor, and I also did take a moment to break apart some of the clumps of pepper that had formed, then continued mixing all the ingredients together. We'll make a well in the flour, pour in the chilled buttermilk, and mix it exactly 15 times, same as we did in the first recipe. After this, we'll lightly flour our work surface, we'll turn out the dough, and we'll sprinkle a little flour on top of the dough and on your rolling pin and start the process of rolling the dough into a rectangle and folding it 5 times before cutting your biscuits. Once you start cutting your biscuits, remember to press down on the cutter and don't twist the cutter into the dough. Just press it straight down. Place your biscuits touching each other, side by side, on your parchment paper lined sheet pan. You'll also cook these at 475 degrees for about 15 minutes. And then they will be beautiful and golden brown like you see here. Then I added my additional 2 tablespoons of butter, which I brushed on the top of the biscuits. And now it's time to eat the bite again, my favorite part. And as you can see, I decided to add a little fresh local honey to this bite, which was a great addition. And it was so delicious. Biscuits are versatile. They can be an afternoon snack, you can eat them for breakfast with jam, or even make breakfast sandwiches, which is one of my favorite things to do with them. No matter what you do, these biscuits will be a hit, and they're super easy to make with a short baking time. That's all for now, guys. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also find all the printable recipes at www.eatthebite.com. See you next time!